SPMP サイドストーリークンネチプ
Previous overview. Susa suddenly came to PoloKotan with her parents. Feeling the resentment of those around her, Kunnecup went to her house with the four of them, and that night they heard from Susa about what had happened. Even while we were all eating, my anger at Susa hadn't subsided. But that night, as I listened to his story, my impression of Susa gradually began to change. When the meal was over, Susa looked at me and said, "Your daughter seems to hate me, so can I talk to your daughter for a bit?" He asked my parents with a smile. My father burst out laughing when he heard his story. And mother laughed apologetically and apologized to him. I could understand a little bit of the language, but at this time, I didn't understand the meaning, and I just glaring at Susa. But from there, Susa started speaking in our language, and the conversation progressed in a way that my mother taught me the meaning of difficult words, and Susa spoke slowly, looking at my grandma and me alternately. He came to this place because of the intensifying conflict with Yaso, and when he was looking around the surroundings before meeting King Yaso, he happened to meet Kushanada on the beach. Kushanada is the daughter of King Yaso, and after getting to know her, he learned about the problem of food and the flooding of the river, and when he was looking for a solution, he found out about us. After meeting her many times and conversing with her, he began to like her, and he decided to accept her request and solve the problem. He said that our presence is important in solving problems. The presence of a king and a priestess is important to govern the country, and leadership is necessary to solve problems. So he was a little pushy this time, but he wanted us to follow our policy by showing us what we were capable of. However, while he was away from Kunnecup, Susa said that he was sorry that the people who misunderstood the response had injured the people who had gathered at Kotan. He added that there was a man who had caused it, and that he was afraid that many would misunderstand him, because he was acting under the guise of being an emissary who had received his instructions without his knowledge. When I heard that, I had an idea. It's about that mysterious Wajan man who came to visit my mother, spoke to me one-sidedly, and hurriedly walked away. So I told my mother about the person who visited me the other day and the men that Yukakima saw, and my mother told Susa about it. Then, Susa's expression changed completely and changed to a stern expression. He thanked my mother after listening to the story and emphatically told his parents that he would find the man and hold him accountable, and then looked at me. but his expression wasn't as stern as it had been just before. Susa looked at me with a smile and said that I didn't want your daughter to kick her leg again, so I would definitely find out and clear up any misunderstandings, and then he looked at my father. It's strange. I was a little surprised by his expression. The sound I heard from Susa was always clear, and I felt that there was no lie in this person's words. Then maybe asking him to bring my sister back will solve the problem. So I asked my mother to tell Susa about my wishes, and he was a little surprised, and although he promised to cooperate for the time being, he muttered that it would not be easy unless we started by clearing up the misunderstanding. Susa looked at me after thinking for a moment and promised me that he would definitely bring me back, but at that moment, his voice of the heart was quiet, and on the contrary, I felt uneasy. When Susa finished speaking, he told us that we had to go to Suji, and walked away from PoloKotan in the dark. Seeing Susa walk away, I felt a little uneasy, but now I have no choice but to trust Susa and wait. At this time, I was still young and didn't know what the difficulty was, and I believed that my sister would be back soon. But I didn't know that the situation was more complicated than I thought. Today's story ends. The story is updated every Saturday. Please look forward to. If you like, please subscribe to the channel. See you again.